In this video, I'm going to be making Chipotle Chicken Burrito Bowls with Mexican black beans and cilantro lime rice, plus all the toppings.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to be notified when there's new videos. Comments welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so to get started, I'm going to be making the marinade for the chicken. And this is, of course, Chipotle chicken. So we're going to start out with Chipotle peppers. And if you're not familiar, Chipotle peppers are red jalapeno peppers that have been smoked, and then they're canned in adobo sauce. And they're the jalapenos get hotter as they ripen. That's when they ripen, they turn red. Normally the green ones we eat are green. They're not ripe yet. So the red jalapenos get a little hotter. So Chipotle is generally kind of hot. Depends on, of course, how many you use. And we're just using 2 here. And I'm just going to dice them up fairly small. This is a little bit messy process, obviously. Then in addition to the Chipotle peppers themselves, I'm going to use a tablespoon of the adobo sauce. And I am not sure what's in the adobo sauce, but it's very spicy and very flavorful. And so now we put in the rest of the ingredients for the marinade. That's the same way I usually like to do this. I like to make the marinade in the bowl first, and then I'll cut up the chicken into the bowl and then let it marinate in the refrigerator in that same bowl. Oftentimes I do use Ziploc bags too, but just depends how much meat, how long. So this is only going to marinate for about an hour. Marinate, I should say. We'll marinate in the marinade for 1 hour. So we had white vinegar, now we get garlic. Check the recipe a little bit. Need some onions. And I've already got these diced, obviously, but I want to we want to go with a little bit finer dice, so chop them up a little bit more. The recipe just calls for about 1/4 of an onion, so roughly probably be about 1/4 cup, but maybe twice that, depending on the size of your onion, of course. Yeah, I want to dice those up a little smaller. This marinade is not just a marinade; it's actually a sauce. That's gonna you're just gonna cook it right on the chicken. So. All right, that looks pretty good. This recipe uses garlic salt. I usually don't like to use garlic salt because you can't control how much salt is in it. Depends on the brand, but we use it here. Cumin. Gotta have cumin in Mexican food. Oregano. I should have crumbled that up. I forget. You just rub it between my hands there and crumble that up. Break it open. This is not just regular chili pepper. This is Chipotle chili pepper. But if you don't have Chipotle chili pepper, you can just use some regular chili pepper. We'll just get that mixed up well. Okay, got our chicken. And I'm using boneless, skinless chicken thighs again. You could use chicken breast here too. And I'm just going to remove the excess fat and trim off anything that we don't want on there. Sometimes with these boneless chicken thighs, you get like little bones on them or a piece of bone. And I am going to cut these in fairly small pieces. Just my preference for like tacos or burritos is I have small chunks instead of large chunks. For fajitas, often I do strips, but it's probably just because that's the way the restaurants seem to do it. Now that these chicken thighs are, these boneless, skinless chicken thighs are so cheap lately, like getting for $2.50 a pound regularly. Use them on almost everything. Chicken breasts are still cheaper generally, but the thigh is, I think it cooks nicer. It's much easier, much more forgiving to cook. right, so now it's time to mix it up. Want to get that meat well coated with the marinade. And oftentimes I just use my hands to do the mixing, but in this case I'm going to go ahead and actually use a spoon. Obviously in the video you can't smell anything, but this smells so good even now. The chipotle peppers really have a nice aroma. Okay, and then I'm just going to cover it with plastic wrap and stick it in the refrigerator until I'm ready to cook it. And of course, the farther ahead you do this, the more flavor you'll probably get, but an hour is good. Even a half hour, whatever you got actually, but I always do like to clean the cutting board when I do like raw chicken or raw meat. Make sure I clean it with some soap. We don't want to cross-contaminate things. Of course, any knives as well, if you're going to reuse them. All right, now the chicken broth is my own homemade chicken broth, and it's frozen. So I'm going to thaw it out a little bit here in the sink. I'm going to run some hot water in there. Should have thought about getting it out earlier. And while that water's getting hot, I'm going to go ahead and measure out the rice. And as I said in the intro there, I'm going to be making some Mexican black beans and cilantro lime rice to go in our burrito bowls. And I'll be making the rice in the Instant Pot, as I usually do. So I'm just going to measure out a couple cups here, and then I'm going to rinse it in cold water. Now the water that's running right now is hot. I'm trying to wait for the hot water to come up so I can fill that sink with hot water to thaw out the broth. There we go. And so while I'm waiting on that sink to fill, start working on some of the toppings. And I'm going to shred up some lettuce, or really just thinly slice it. This is romaine lettuce. You can also just buy a bag of the shredded lettuce, of course. Or you can do cabbage. All right, well, looks like enough lettuce, I think. I almost always have too much lettuce, have lettuce left over. Okay, diced up some tomatoes. Some Roman tomatoes. Some jalapenos. Okay, got enough water in the sink for the to thaw out the broth, so switch it over to cold water. We'll rinse out the rice. Generally better to let the rice settle down to the bottom before you pour it, but so you don't lose all your rice. The idea here, of course, is just to get out all the starch, because that's what makes the rice stick together. So I just rinse it until the water is pretty clear. It doesn't have a lot of the white starch dust in it. That's looking pretty good. Plus I'm getting tired of rinsing it, so. All right, get out the Instant Pot. Now, I know this thing's pretty old, but it's like one of the original ones before everybody made electric pressure cookers, when the Instant Pot was basically the only one. Okay, we'll just wait on that rice, finish it up later. Go ahead and slice this stuff. Now, warn you, if you're sensitive to the jalapenos, you might want to use gloves. Get some nitrile or latex gloves and do this. But actually, I'm finding that jalapenos are not as hot as they used to be. I think that's, from what I've read, they've been engineered so that they're more uniformly the same temperature or the same heat. And for restaurants and manufacturers, of course, would like that to have the consistency in the peppers. And I think they're actually called A&M jalapeno peppers, but I can't remember. I think it's something like that, because they were developed at Texas A&M, I think. Could be wrong on that. At any rate, it seems like they are definitely more consistent, but not as hot as they used to be. The other thing, of course, is after you have been cutting jalapenos or something like, don't touch your eyes or your face. Now that I've said that, I'll probably do it. It's like during COVID when they told everybody, don't touch your face, don't. Immediately, that's what you want to do as soon as they tell you that. All of a sudden, your face itches, your nose itches, something. I thought I would just do one, but that doesn't look like enough. All right, finally I'm getting back to the tomatoes. to get all that other stuff done, though. I like the Roma tomatoes for this, for like dicing, because they don't have so much on the inside. You don't really need to worry about, just like cutting around to just dicing up the skin, which you would if like for the other tomatoes. They should probably be called Mexican tomatoes. They just use. I don't remember them when I was younger being really available in the stores now, but now they are. For all the Hispanic foods they all use these Roman tomatoes. Of course, for just eating sliced tomatoes or using on BLTs or something, I like to get the bigger slicing ones. Okay, now we get to the cilantro here. Gotta have a lot of cilantro. I love cilantro. So obviously some people don't like it because it tastes like soap, but I love it. And of course I need some not only to put it on in the burrito bowls, but also in the cilantro lime rice. So, just gonna chop all this up. And I don't bother just pulling the leaves off. I just chop up with, just have a few stems in there. It all tastes good and the stems aren't tough or anything. Okay, let's check. Well, the broth is thawed out some, but don't worry, the Instant Pot will thaw it out the rest of the way. It'll just take it a little longer to make the rice. And that's about 2 cups of broth. I'll add that now. Before we cook it, get the garlic salt in there. All right, seal it up. Make sure you set the vent sealing to the seal position. Just consult the recipe here. Okay. Now you're probably wondering about why I didn't start the rice yet. It's a little early to start the rice. It's ready to go, but I'll cook it. I'll do it a little later. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is I'm going to be making some guacamole. It's an easy, quick guacamole recipe. It's got 3 avocados, like a 1/4 cup of salsa, and some lime juice and some salt, garlic salt. And some, yeah, I think that's it. Of course, the full list of ingredients will be in the description below the video. I need a potato masher, of course. We have 2 of those. We have one that's the bended wire, get around it, and then this one. And I like to use this one for guacamole. The other one I use for mashed potatoes. Because the mashed potatoes, I'd like it to kind of leave it maybe in like, irregular chunks. Versus the guacamole, I'd like to mash it up a little finer and a little more consistently small. Finally. Well, one thing that's weird, a couple of these avocados, when you feel them on the outside, they're kind of soft, like they're ripe, but on the inside they're harder. It's kind of strange, like the outside ripened and the inside didn't, or something as much. Probably due to something like, because they're probably picked while they're still Not ripe, of course. Well, in fact, I know they are because usually they first prune them out. That'd be a big pile of green ones there. Then they ripen as they sit. But usually, squeezing them a little bit on the outside with my fingers, you can tell which ones are riper. After those two, I've just had to check again. It's like, is this one? But this one is actually softer on the inside. Comes apart easier and pit comes out easier. And although it looks very similar, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit of a challenge to mash these up here. Get both hands in on it. Put the body weight on it. All right. The first thing when I'm making guacamole, I do like to get the lime juice in as soon as I can. Certainly, you don't want to leave the avocado just sitting out there on the counter, like, you know. Want to get that lime juice in there because that'll help stop it from browning. There's Murphy. Murphy's always checking to see if I drop something on the floor. And the recipe calls for a quarter cup of salsa. And also like paste. This is a fresh salsa bit. You can also use like paste or something. Jarred stuff. The measurements can't be too exact because avocados vary in size. So you do want to taste things as you go. guacamole's done. So I'm just going to put that in the refrigerator until it's time to eat. And of course, guacamole will turn brown if you just let it sit out in the air. So cover it with plastic wrap and then push the plastic wrap right down on top of the guacamole so there's no air in there, or less air. And there's the chicken marinating, and we'll just take that out and let it start to warm up a little bit. Okay, next thing I need to do is get started on the beans. See, it looks like there's a lot to it, but it's really not that bad. The recipe does call for some red onion. This one's been sitting in there a little bit, but I think it's still good enough. This big chunk here is still good. So that'll be enough for the beans. Let's put the rest of this aside. People can put it on their burritos if they want. Or burrito bowls. Okay, so to add a little extra flavor to the beans, I'm going to use some bacon grease. Cook the onions in, and just for flavor. Of course, if you don't have bacon grease that you've saved from cooking bacon, you could use lard if you have that, or just use some olive oil. Okay, so there are a few spices in this recipe. Just take me a couple minutes here to find them. It would be nice to organize the spices there at some point, but it's like people put them back in a different place every time they take them out. Gotta have cayenne. All right. Pan's starting to warm up. Let's get our onions in there. And so we'll let that cook for a little bit until those onions soften up a little bit. The garlic starts to release its flavor. Yeah, this recipe calls for a 3/4 cup of chicken broth, but I'm going to use just some water and better than bouillon. I'm just debating there, and I decided to go ahead and just add it directly in. No sense mixing it with the water first. Gotta find my favorite spatula there, the spoonula. So for these beans, you can use any kind of beans you want, really. The two most common I use are pinto beans or black beans, and this time I'm using black beans. And then also a can of diced chilies. You could also use a can of diced jalapenos. I did that once and didn't realize the jalapenos are hotter than the diced chilies. You just dump it in with all their juice and everything. And it actually turns out this can is whole chilies, not diced. I thought I grabbed diced chilies, but okay, so we'll just have to dice them up. I always think it's kind of funny how they fold up the chilies in the little cans. Turn the heat up there. So what we do with cooking this is we just need to, actually you normally just simmer it. You just want to simmer it and reduce down the liquid till it's whatever consistency you like. But I'm running a little late on time, so I'm going to actually run this a little hotter. That does mean I have to pay attention to it more. Whoop. Now go ahead and get all the spices in there. Kosher salt. Chili powder. That's just regular chili powder this time, not the Chipotle. Okay, next up, this is actually ground coriander seeds, and of course coriander is the same as cilantro. So this is the seeds of the cilantro. And normally we call that coriander. When you use the leaves, it's cilantro. Got some cumin. And of course, the seeds do taste a lot different than not a lot different, but different than the cilantro. So they're not substitutes for each other. Some hot paprika, smoked paprika. Oregano. Cayenne, of course. Not too much. Okay, and then we're going to add in some fresh cilantro. Now, I like to do this now and let it cook in there and simmer in there, added more flavor. You could do it at the end as well, if you'd like to have the green leafy leaves in there. So now we're just going to let that cook and reduce the liquid, thicken them up. Okay, so finally I'm going to cook the rice. Rice isn't going to take long, so just going to have it go for 3 minutes. And of course, one thing you can do to simplify these is just the only thing just have, you could use canned or refried beans if you want for your beans, or you could just have canned chili beans. You could also just get some kind of, cilantro rice mix or something, and buy some guacamole, buy your shredded lettuce. Simplify the whole thing. But I do like to cook all that stuff and make, I think it's better homemade. And of course, you get to control the spices and the salt. Like I said, I'm cooking those beans pretty hot on medium high, so I have to watch them pretty good. I don't want them to burn to the bottom and stick down. So I'll just get out some more of the toppings. Cotija cheese. That's left over from another meal, so it's already crumbled up. Just need a bowl for that. Another good choice between Cotija is queso fresco. I kind of like the Cotija a little more. It's a little drier and I think saltier. Of course, our Mexican blend. And I always have that Mexican blend on hand. That's a good general shredded cheese to have around. Get some tortilla chips since we're not having any tortillas with our burritos, because they're burrito bowls. Alright, so I'll go ahead and get the butter out. Need some butter for the cilantro lime rice when it's finished. When it's finished cooking it. Now, of course, I'm just using unsalted butter. Always use unsalted butter. I'm just checking the beans recipe here. I forgot the bacon crumbles. That's why I always try to check the recipe while I'm stirring, or at least think about it, but it won't matter in this case. We're just using the pre-cooked ones. We got some leftover olives, so I'm going to go ahead and slice those up. Not traditional for Mexican food, I think, but Okay, let's check on our beans here. Still doing good. So of course, the more liquid that it loses, the faster it will start cooking. So you got to watch it more and more as the liquid goes down. I think I already rinsed that, but one minute left on the rice. Okay, rice is done. We'll do the quick release on it. And you can't really see the steam coming out on the camera there, but it's hissing and spewing out right now. All right. Perfectly done rice there. We'll get the butter in, get it melting. And the Instant Pot is still on its warm setting, so it's going to just continue to keep the rice warm. Okay, you got our lime juice for our cilantro lime rice. Now we'll go on with the recipe calls for a handful. So, I don't know. I just keep adding it and stirring it up till I think it's got enough. Now remember, we added garlic salt before cooking, so I'm just going to taste it here and make sure it's good, but it's good to go. Put the lid back on to keep it warm. The beans are starting to get there. Another thing I almost forgot was my lime. Got to have some limes to squeeze on there. Trying to figure out which ones are older. I always like to roll them a little bit, try to smush them up a little bit, get to release more juice. There we go. Okay. Time to get going with the chicken here. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, as Guy Fieri would say. Okay, finally time to cook the chicken. Stir it up, make sure it's well coated with the marinade / sauce. Check our beans while our pan's getting hot. Get out the guacamole so we don't forget it. So the beans are getting about to the consistency I want, so I'm going to turn them down a little bit. I find it kind of interesting the stages the meat goes through like this when it's cooking. And so it starts out and it's all got the sauce on it and everything, and it's all thick. And then as it cooks, um, the liquid starts to come out of the meat, especially if it's been injected. And then, so your pan fills up with water, and then you have to boil all the water off before you can continue cooking the meat, really. In fact, Chef John, I don't know if you watch his channel, I love his channel. He was talking about that technique, which I use a lot when I'm trying to sear the meat before I use it in the slow cooker or in the Instant Pot, because it doesn't really have enough heat to just sear it straight up. So first you have to dry it out. You have to get the water will come out, and then you'll cook it down, and then it'll start to brown. Now, it's not the best technique if the meat is going to end up being tough, because you're going to end up overcooking it. Because you're going to cook it, you're going to steam it first, and then you're going to cook it. But say in the Instant Pot, when I'm going to go ahead and pressure cook it anyway, it's not going to matter if it gets a little tougher, because the Instant Pot's going to fix that. In this case, we have chicken thighs. We can overcook these, and they'll be just fine. In this case, I'm not sure what you're supposed to do to get around that. You're supposed to use chicken thighs. That's what the solution is. Okay, beans are ready to go. Now we're just waiting on the chicken. Everything else is ready. We still got quite a bit of water in here. Okay, so I skipped ahead. Sorry if you wanted to watch it all. It cooked for a long time and boil out the water. So now we're getting down there. It'll start cooking quickly now. And like I was saying earlier, you can't smell it through the screen here. It smells so good. That steam coming off there, I'll smell that Chipotle chicken, man. Okay. Meat's ready. We'll just do a little cleanup here, and then we'll be ready to serve. Okay, so we got our little mini buffet with our Chipotle chicken, our Mexican black beans, cilantro lime rice, guacamole, fresh made, and the rest of our toppings ready to go. All right, so I'm going to make up my burrito bowl here. Start out with a bunch of rice, Mexican beans, black beans, Chipotle chicken, a little more. Now I just got to load it up. I love these kind of meals where you just make your own deal. Load it up with whatever you like. You don't have to worry about the person at the restaurant and how much they decide you should get. Oh, you get one scoop. Gotta make it healthy with some lettuce. Get some guac. Sour cream. Almost forgot the onions. Salsa. Little hot sauce. Little Cholula. All right, looks pretty good. I'm gonna dig in there and try some of that chicken, and it is tasty. Hope you enjoyed the video.
If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to be notified when new videos become available.